My name is Pam Taggart, and this is Lori Adams, and we are working together to put on this presentation because staff data is now tied really closely to the GMS grants management system. So we want to make sure that all the districts know and understand the timelines, the data, and if you have any questions, you can email Lori or I, and we'll have our contact information at the end of this presentation, or you can give us a call. So, all right, let's get started. Okay, most of you will know that the staff reporting, we've been doing that for a number of years. In fact, it's probably one of the oldest data collections in the Department of Education. The data is due by September 15th by statute, but we do allow the data to be submitted by October 15th with an audit window through October 31st. The due date, and that's kind of called the fall personnel report, but the data collection is open all year long for you to make additions and corrections. No deletes, but you can end assignments and add new assignments as needed. The date then for the final staff data is June 15th with an audit window close date of June 30th. So those dates are really important, and if you don't get your data right by that time, you will not be allowed to make corrections. So, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but those dates are very important. The staff reporting application is located in the portal under the Student and Staff tab. The report includes position assignments and special program indicators, which are very important to the grants management system. There is a staff manual that is located under a button on the application if you have the activation code to get into it, or it's also available under the policy and research on the NDE homepage, and then click on data research and evaluation. And then on the left-hand side, there's a menu that includes staff reporting. There are two files that are used for staff reporting. There's the staff demographics, which gives us information about their race, gender, education attained, email address, things like that. And then there's the staff position assignments. And the staff position assignments is the one that is very important for grants management system. So make sure you review that and make sure that you get the right data reported there. Okay, so the position assignment codes, the only position assignments that we collect are included in the staff manual. So there might be positions that are not collected that you might claim reimbursement for, and those will be reported separately, not with the data that's reported in the staff reporting system. The special program indicator is where you tell us what funding that position is utilizing. And there are some staff that have multiple positions and multiple special program indicators. So for each of those combinations, special or position assignment and special program indicator, they should have a staff assignment record. And there is an assignment date and a completion date and a full-time equivalency assigned to each of those positions. So you'll need to divide that up appropriately based on their funding, and you'll want to make sure that if they change during the year, that you can end a position and add a new one, or you can, but you do not delete anything. Just remember, do not delete anything. Just end the position and add a new one, or if you need to just change the FTE, you can do that too.
So an example of a program special indicator would be for special ed IDEA, you would use an I for the school age portion, and you would use an S for the school age state funded, and you would use a 7 for the early childhood. Those are just some examples.
Okay. Now there are reports, and we've actually expanded them some since last year. And the reason we did that is to make sure that you would know what kind of data would be included in the reimbursable grants management programs. Under NSSRS validation, which again is located under the Student and Staff tab in the portal, are staff errors, and there are some validation and verification reports. And two of them that you might be familiar with are the current personnel report, which lists all the staff that you reported and their both positions combined together so you can see them all at once. And then also, if the staff are certificated, it'll show their current certificate information. But the one report that we really want you to look at is under the staff verification reports, and I have it circled on this slide. It's called the staff reporting for the GMS SPED IDEA consolidated application. And that report will, you can make some selections that will help you know what staff data are reimbursable. And if you're missing some, then you need to make the corrections on the staff reporting. So on the staff reporting for GMS SPED IDEA consolidated application, you can select a filter by qualification of yes or no. And the yeses are the ones that are reimbursable. Is that right,
Yes.
Lori? Okay. You select the position type. Dependent on the report selected, will display the appropriate staff and SPI codes for that particular coding. And how we determine qualified is based on endorsement checks or licensure checks if they're not certificated. And also special education has a sign language interpreter validation process that they provide us information on.
So for the IDEA application, they're implementing in the 18-19 year, you need to put in by position code your staff. So it's very important that you make sure that you have your staff qualification and SPI codes in there correctly, because that will determine whether or not those staff will show for you to be able to budget and include those in your amendment. And it's important that you amend those staff in before you can receive reimbursement for those.
So in the past, we received corrections and clear up to a year later, but that is not going to be allowable for the 18-19 school year. That's why Lori and I are coming to you for this important video, because you need to check these reports in NSSRS validation under verification reports. And as you can see on this slide, we've added some, so the SPED ones are for the special education grants. The IDEA reports are for the IDEA program grants. And then there's school age, state, and local SPED positions. And Lori has worked really hard to make sure that we've got the right people in those positions, so that you will know if they have a yes for qualified, that those staff are reimbursable under those programs. And they should be doing time and effort logs. Is that
Yes.
right, Lori? Okay. All right.
Okay, so the NSSRS impact on reimbursement. We're hoping to minimize staff reporting errors. We review on the school age final financial report and the IDEA reimbursement reports. We review the position information and compare that for the IDEA application to make sure that we are reimbursing for allowable staff. And if there are errors, then that would cause a issue and could impact your reimbursement to your district. So it is important to make sure that you have your data validated by June 30th, and make sure that your time and effort logs do support that, because you'd be doing time and effort each semester. And so when you do those in June, your final time and effort should match what you have reported in your NSSRS.
And that's why they do, we are kind of coordinating the timeline. June 30th is, the end of the school year. And so you should have your time and effort logs done at that time. Is that correct, Lori?
Yes.
Okay. So it's really important then that if you're doing time and effort logs for people, they should be on those reports that I showed you under NSSRS validation. If they're not, then you don't have them coded right. And you need to make sure that you can go back to staff reporting And if they were coded wrong, you can make a correction, but if they were coded right but the position changed, then you will end a position code at an end date, and then you will add a new assignment code.
And regarding time and effort logs, those are for federal reporting requirements. So for IDEA, you would need to be providing time and efforts for the final reports. So that's a federal requirement. That would be for Title I, all federal, not just SPED IDEA. We're just using SPED IDEA as an example.
Correct.
So we want to minimize maximize grant reimbursement by enforcing the deadlines, finalizing the due dates so that there's a comparison. The new SPED First system that's going to be opening September 1, that's going to be combining the early childhood birth to 5 and the school age final financial altogether and transportation into one, will be using the similar SPI codes as the grants management system. So we're trying to get everything on the same page. So again, make sure that you're using the appropriate SPI codes for reimbursement, and doing that up front will make reporting easier for you. Make sure you got your time and effort reporting, and your district's accounting and payroll records should all agree with one another.
Okay. Okay. So kind of to kind of wrap this up, so June 15th to June 30th, if you haven't done it before, and we'd encourage you, of course, to do it as early as possible, maybe as soon as school gets out, you need to review the staff reporting for the GMS reports. That's critical because, again, if there are errors, you need to make corrections as soon as possible because you don't want to wait till the last minute. And we are going to enforce the due dates are due dates. And June 15th through June 30th is the audit window, and June 30th is the audit window close date. And no updates will be accepted after June 30th unless there are extenuating circumstances, and very few of those will be approved. An extenuating circumstance would be if maybe you had like our recent floods, or where people couldn't get to work or meet the deadline, or if there was a tornado or something like that. It's not just that you forgot to do it. That will not be accepted. So it's very important that you review your reports. And if you have any questions, Lori and I have our names at the end of this presentation. If you do need to make corrections after the due date, you will use the CDC request to submit data late or make data changes. Those will be reviewed by the GMS team and to see if there really are extenuating circumstances. Based on what we know from prior years, we have gotten so many changes a year later that people are not reviewing their data. So this could hurt your reimbursement if you don't review it now or shortly before June 30th. So we really want to encourage you to make sure that you're getting your reports reviewed. So this is Lori's and my contact information. I do work at the help desk. If all else fails, you can do a help desk ticket, and we will get you to Lori if needed. So if you think it's a Lori question, let us know in the ticket. Otherwise, I do work with the help desk, so I may see some of the tickets. If you want to bounce the idea, or if you have an issue that you want to talk to me about, be sure to put that in the ticket too, and that way we'll get the information, or we'll get the ticket, and we can try to get you the information. But we just wanted you to know this data is now being utilized more strictly across the different systems, and having the data come a year late is just it's causing a lot of issues for both of our teams. It's dual work in some ways, and a year late. So we need to really get this data in now. We need to get it in on time and as accurate as possible. And we've given you some reports. If you have ideas for other reports that you'd like to see that you think would be helpful, Lori and I'd be glad to hear about that, and we can work with our team to get them added. But we really do appreciate you taking time to listen to our presentation today. Lori, do you have any other things?
No. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sorry we missed the data conference, but we're glad we could do this presentation with Drew's help. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.